When the mother of a brave army officer was selling vegetables by the roadside, an inspector came and slapped her hard, scattering all her vegetables. The vegetables spilled across the street. A man recorded the incident and uploaded it to social media, and soon the video went viral across the entire city, eventually reaching the army officer's phone. Seeing the humiliation and mistreatment of her mother, her blood boiled, and what the army officer did to the inspector afterward left not only the police station, but the entire city trembling.
It was morning. A cool breeze was blowing through the city's lanes. The sky was lightly covered with clouds. Elderly Halima Bibi, as usual, had left home with a basket of vegetables on her head. Though her face showed fatigue, her eyes held a spark of hope that today's earnings would cover household expenses. Meanwhile, her daughter Aisha was stationed at the border, protecting the nation. Dressed in her army uniform, she was busy training soldiers, perhaps thinking her mother was living comfortably. But who could have known that on that morning, something would happen on the city streets that would not only wound a mother's dignity, but also shake her daughter's soul. As soon as Halima Bibi reached the market and found a clean spot to set down her vegetable basket, she began selling. A simple smile was on her face and a prayer in her heart that her vegetables would sell quickly. Suddenly, a sharp voice barked. "What's this nonsense? Selling vegetables in the middle of the road? Have you lost your mind?" The voice belonged to Inspector Anand Varma. His face red with anger, his eyes full of authority, and a stick in his hand. Without listening to her, in a fit of rage, the inspector slapped Halima Bibi hard across the face. The slap was so forceful that she stumbled, and her basket of vegetables fell to the ground. Tomatoes, potatoes, green chilies, everything scattered across the street. Some vegetables were crushed under passing vehicles, mixing into the dirt. Halima Bibi stood stunned, her face pale, tears streaming from her eyes and a pain in her heart that words could not express. Inspector Anand kept shouting, "This road isn't your father's property. Don't you have any fear of the law?" The entire market watched this spectacle, but no one dared to speak against the inspector. Halima's humiliation unfolded as everyone stood by as mere spectators. However, in that crowd, one man quietly recorded everything on his phone. Halima Bibi, with trembling hands, began picking up the scattered vegetables. Her only fear was, if this news reaches my daughter Aisha, a storm will come. With a broken heart, she returned home as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, the man who recorded the video uploaded it to social media with the caption, "An honest vegetable seller mother was beaten by an inspector for no reason. Is this the justice in our country?" The video went viral in no time. Millions of views, thousands of shares, and anger in the hearts of countless people. The entire city was watching, and the video reached Army Officer Aisha's phone. As soon as she saw it, her face hardened. Tears streamed from her eyes, not of sorrow, but of rage. Her blood began to boil. The mother who raised her had been treated this way. "Now I'll show that inspector what real strength is," Aisha said to herself. She took leave from her senior officer and immediately set off for home. She changed out of her uniform into a red salwar suit and boarded a bus. In the bus, a woman sitting in front of her was watching the viral video on her phone. The woman quietly asked, "Beti, is that woman in the video your mother?" Aisha nodded slowly. Her eyes were teary, but her face burned with anger. "Yes, she's my mother, and now that inspector will not get forgiveness, but a lesson." Evening had fallen. A cool breeze was blowing. When there was a knock at the door, an elderly voice asked, "Who is it?" "It's me, Ma, Aisha. Open the door, I'm here." Hearing her daughter's voice, Halima Bibi panicked, but quickly went to open the door. Seeing her daughter, she couldn't hold back and embraced her without a word. Tears flowed from both their eyes, as if that one embrace held the answer to all their pain. Inside the house, Aisha held her mother's hand, sat her down, and recounted everything she had seen in the video, which the entire city had witnessed. "Ma, why did you stay silent? Such a big incident, and you didn't tell me anything?" With a trembling voice, Halima said, "Baithi, I didn't want you to know. It would upset you. You were far away. I was always worried about you. These things happen, Baithi. They're police." He said something in anger. It doesn't matter. But Aisha was no longer calm. The tears in her eyes had turned into a fire of rage. "This isn't a small matter, Ma. What happened to you isn't just mistreatment. It's an insult to humanity. I've seen everything. The whole city has seen it. And now that Inspector will not escape."
Meanwhile, 3 or 4 women from the neighborhood came to the house. One of them knocked softly on the door. "Beti, we saw the video of what happened to your mother. That inspector did a terrible thing. Have you seen it all?" Aisha replied in a calm but heavy voice, "Yes, I've seen it, and I won't sit quietly." The woman sat inside. Some showed anger, some fake sympathy, and others seemed satisfied watching the drama. Halima Bibi tried to explain, "Don't say anything to my daughter. I don't want any trouble. He's a police officer. He said something in anger, so what? Let it go." The woman also tried to convince Aisha, "Beti, you'll only harm yourself." But Aisha's face showed no room for compromise. She was now a lioness whose mother had been insulted in the middle of the street. The next morning, Aisha got ready and told her mother firmly, "Ma, I can't stay silent anymore. Today, I'm going to the police station. I'll file a report against that inspector and return." Halima held her hand and said, "Beti, think carefully before you act." Aisha gave a slight smile and left. Whispers had already started in the village lanes. People peeked from rooftops, men at shops whispered taunts, children in the alleys laughed while showing the viral video on their phones. Some expressed sorrow, some said, "Oh, let it go, this is how police are these days." Others jokingly shared the video with new captions on social media. Aisha took a rickshaw towards the city. On the way, her eyes fell on the other side of the road. There stood Inspector Anand Verma holding a cup of tea with the same arrogance on his face. Seeing him, Aisha's eyes filled with tears, but now they burned like fire. She felt like getting off and settling everything right there. But she was an army officer, respectful of the law. A little later, Aisha reached the police station. A guard stood outside. "Who are you, madam? What's your business?" Aisha replied, "I'm here to file a report. I want to lodge a complaint about what happened to my mother on the street." The guard recognized her and said, hesitantly, "You're that woman's daughter, aren't you? The one from the incident. We've all seen the video." Aisha lowered her eyes, said nothing, and walked inside. Inside, a constable asked, "Who do you want to meet, madam?" "I want to file a complaint against Inspector Anand Verma. He mistreated my mother on the street, slapped her, and scattered her vegetables. I won't tolerate this anymore." The constable hesitated and said, "Madam, Inspector Anand Verma has been on leave since yesterday. He's not at the station." Aisha gave a bitter smile and said, "Yes, I know. I saw him in the market today, roaming freely as if nothing happened." The guard approached and said, "Madam, you're that woman's daughter, aren't you? The one from the incident. We've all seen the video." Aisha took a deep breath and said, "Yes, and now I will expose that criminal hiding behind a uniform. If wearing a uniform is a sign of power, I'll show the power of justice." Silence spread through the station. Aisha's fiery words reflected on every constable's face. "What happened to a mother, a widow, and you all did nothing?" Her voice trembled with anger. A head constable lowered his eyes and said softly, "No, madam, I wasn't there." Another constable gathered courage and said, "Madam, what could we do? We didn't have the courage to stop the inspector." Just then, SHO Amir entered through another door. His demeanor was stern, his face serious. He had heard that a high-ranking officer had come to the station. Seeing Aisha, he said, "Madam, I know why you're here. But first, tell me, which department are you from? Any government ID?"
Aisha took out her ID card from her bag and placed it on the table. SHO Amir looked at it with respect and said, "Madam, tell us, we can immediately start legal action against Inspector Anand Verma. What do you want?" There were no tears in Aisha's eyes now, only resolve. "I want legal action, but not just on paper. Just as my mother was humiliated in front of everyone, I want that inspector to apologize publicly. I want his uniform stripped so no one else misuses their power like this." Without arguing, SHO Amir said, "As you say, madam." He immediately pulled out a file and had all the paperwork prepared. The report was filed and the process was set in motion. Aisha put her card back in her bag, left the station and headed straight to the market where this fire had ignited. The daylight was fading. The sun was about to set, and a strange weariness hung in the air. The same market, the same street where Halima Bibi sold vegetables. Everything was the same today, but now people's eyes held a quiet shame. Aisha tried talking to people at every shop, every corner. "Did you witness the incident? Do you know who made that video? Is there anyone who can testify?" But silence was the only response. Some looked away, others made excuses saying, "We weren't there." A faint disappointment crept into Aisha's heart. The truth she was fighting for was now locking people's tongues. Suddenly, a thin 18-19-year-old boy approached her. Hesitation on his face, but honesty in his eyes. "Bibi ji, my name is Umar. I am the one who made that video." Aisha was startled. "You?" "Yes, my intention wasn't to shame anyone. But when Inspector Anand Verma slapped your mother and scattered her vegetables, my heart burned. I couldn't bear it, so I recorded the video and posted it on social media." Aisha's eyes softened. After a moment, she asked, "Do you have the original video, unedited?" Umar immediately took out his phone, opened a folder and showed the video. Aisha saw that moment. Anand's arrogant voice, Halima's trembling eyes, the scattered vegetables and the silent crowd. Aisha asked, "Can you send me this video?" "Yes, I am sending it now. But BBG, if there is any trouble, please don't mention my name." Aisha placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "You stood for the truth. That's never a weakness. I promise your identity will remain safe." With the video in hand, Aisha pulled out her laptop and created a new folder, Subho for Justice. The first file was the original video. The second was a copy of the police report. The third contained questions she had written. The entire city would now be asked these questions. The city's air grew heavier. Halima Bibi's pain had become the voice of millions. The viral video caused an uproar not only on social media but also in the police department. Aisha sent the video, report and all the evidence via email to the city's police commissioner, DCP South and the Human Rights Commission. The video showed not just a lack of sensitivity but a direct abuse of power and an assault on a woman.
3 days later, an emergency meeting was called at the city's largest police headquarters. The police commissioner, DCP, and the Women's Commission chairperson were present. The commissioner held up the report and said, "Inspector Anand Verma has grossly misused his position. This isn't just a matter of departmental discipline, but a human rights violation. This case will go straight to court." The DCP agreed. "Start a departmental inquiry immediately and suspend Anand Verma at once." That evening, all newspapers and news channels ran breaking news. Major action against Inspector Anand Verma for mistreating a woman on the street. Immediate suspension. Departmental inquiry ordered. Case filed.
Halima Bibi was sitting at her stall. Neighborhood women came to her and one secretly showed her phone. Seeing the news, her eyes filled with tears. Aisha, standing beside her, didn't smile. She only lowered her head and said, "This is just the beginning, Ma. The destination is still ahead." The following week, the Departmental Inquiry Committee at the Commissioner's office summoned Inspector Anand Verma. The entire proceeding was recorded on camera. The committee included a retired judge, a Women's Commission representative, and an IPS officer.
The video evidence, Umar's statement, the FIR and media reports were presented. When Anand Verma was asked why he slapped the woman and scattered her vegetables, he made excuses, saying she was blocking the road. The judge sternly asked, "Is blocking the road such a big crime that you'd slap an elderly woman and throw her livelihood onto the street?" Anand Verma remained silent. After a 15-day inquiry, the verdict was announced. Inspector Anand Verma was dismissed from his post. An FIR was filed against him under IPC sections 323, 504, 506 and 354. The case would now proceed in the Sessions Court. On the day of the press conference, the police commissioner, DCP and Aisha appeared together before the media. The commissioner said, "No one in the police department is above the law. Daughters like Aisha, our country's strength. We stand with every fight for justice that upholds women's dignity." Aisha took the mic and said, "My mother's tears have become the voice of millions of women. Justice is no longer just on paper. It has happened in reality." A month later, Halima Bibi no longer sat on the roadside but in a small permanent shop named Izzat Ka Bazaar, a salute to a mother-daughter's fight. Umar, once just an ordinary boy, was now a reporter for a local media channel. And Aisha, still in the army, had a new tag added to her name, the nation's protector and an example of justice.
Friends, if you like this video, please like it, share it with as many people as possible, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And yes, do share your thoughts in the comments.